In the early hours of the 26th of September 1999, Mrs. Smith was woken up by the blaring sound of her alarm. Squinting through the darkness at her clock, two bright red numbers signaled that it was 5 a.m. She got out of bed and dressed up, for she had to pick up her daughter Alicia and her best friend May Weber from the airport. A week earlier, the two inseparable friends had taken a trip to the resort city of Palma in Spain. It was their first time traveling without a group, and they had been super excited. Their long itinerary included visiting some breathtaking architectural spots and, of course, basking in the sun at the serene beaches. The girls' families were naturally concerned about them traveling to an international destination alone, but Alicia and May had managed to convince them. They were adults after all. Mrs. Smith felt a surge of their relief when she saw that their flight had landed. The girls were on a no-contact vacation. Sadly, her relief was short-lived. People waved in and out of the arrival lounge, but there was no sign of the two girls. A trickle of sweat began forming on Mrs. Smith's forehead. What was taking the girls so long? Half an hour later, she headed to the information desk to inquire about Alicia and May. The two girls had never boarded the flight. Soon after, the Smiths and the Webers headed to the local police department, riddled with anxiety and fear. After placing a few calls, the detectives informed them that the girls had never arrived in Palma and were likely still in the U.S. Now a missing person case, the first thing the police detectives did was to try chasing back the postcards and emails. But this avenue only led from one dead end to the other. The girls had been dropped off at the airport by Mr. Weber, so perhaps someone took them from the airport, the detectives thought. They went through the surveillance tapes and tried spotting Alicia. She was a brunette, about 5 feet 5 inches tall, and May, who was a blonde and about 5 feet 7 inches tall. They saw the girls arrive at the check-in counter and stand in line. Just then, a little boy seemed to approach Alicia, and the girls went with him outside the airport. A blue Mustang pulled up, and for some bizarre reason, they got in along with the boy. That was the last time they were seen. Despite a search spanning several months, detectives were unable to locate the girls. The Webers and the Smiths made local news appearances, pleading to the girls' kidnapper to let them come home. No one would hear from the girls until about 5 years later. In June 2004, police were alerted about a young blonde girl, about 5 feet 7 inches tall, who had been banging on the doors of homes in Hickory West at midnight. She had collapsed on the lawn in front of one of the houses, and eerily, her description matched that of May Weber. The detectives on the original case received an alert when pictures on the missing persons database confirmed that it was indeed May. They went to the hospital along with her family, where a frail, malnourished, and traumatized May was being treated. Apparently, May hadn't said a word since she'd been admitted to the hospital. On seeing her parents, she started crying tears of joy, but still refused to speak with the detectives present in the room. Later, her parents informed the police that Alicia was alive as well, but was being held in the basement of a woman who had kidnapped them. May told her parents that the woman, who they called Eunice, was under the assumption that Alicia was her daughter for some weird reason. All she remembered about the house they were held in was that it was opposite a vibrant yellow house. The police jumped into action and got some search and rescue dogs to retrace May's steps before she reached Hickory West. They contacted nearby police personnel to check if anyone had spotted a vibrant yellow house while doing rounds. Finally, they narrowed down on a neighborhood, just a few kilometers from where May was found. With the help of the police dogs, they raided Eunice's house. They found Alicia safe and sound in the basement, and she was in a better state than May. The little boy Jack, whom the girls had followed while in the airport, was also returned to his parents. As it turned out, Eunice's own children, who had died in a fatal crash years ago, looked strikingly similar to Alicia and Jack. May, on the other hand, was just collateral damage, which explained the state she was found in. To this day, Eunice believes that her children are alive and well, and often asks about them to nurses looking after her in the psychiatric hospital.